We need to move to phase 2.
War is over.
We will do as Canada what we can do to achieve those core humanitarian objectives.
If phase 1 of the ceasefire deal, which was signed in October, was put your weapons down, guns falling silent, phase 2 is essentially how to solve the Gaza Strip. There are 3 main points we want to look at. There's the disarmament of Hamas, who have ruled the territory since they took over in 2007. They have agreed to cede their weapons to the Palestinian Technocratic Committee, which is led by Dr. Ali Shath, who is a former Palestinian Authority deputy minister. He'll lead 15 other Palestinians who will all have portfolios, and they'll all have ministries in charge of agriculture, economics, and the like. That 15-member board was agreed upon by Hamas, Fatah, and Israel. So that's something that is quite tangible. I think that's one of the most tangible things that we're going to see in phase 2. However, the logistics of disarmament haven't been worked out. So what's going to happen to Hamas's weapons? What's going to happen to their tunnels? What's going to happen to the leaders and Hamas fighters? Will they go into exile? Will they be absorbed into Gazan society? Will Israel allow something like that? Those questions are unanswered. And I think this is where the second part of phase 2 comes in. Israeli withdrawal from the Gaza Strip. That's contingent and dependent on Hamas disarming. At present, we're seeing Israel somewhat occupying east of the so-called Yellow Line, which was the initial withdrawal point put forward by the White House in the 20-point peace plan. Israel's got that whole area under their own control. They are currently cultivating armed groups who are anti-Hamas, like Abu Shabab. They are destroying buildings, and they're also arbitrarily moving that Yellow Line, which is demonstrated essentially by yellow blocks, some barbed wire. It's not a permanent border, so it's quite permeable. And Israel's saying we're not going to withdraw until Hamas disarms. The third part is reconstruction of the Gaza Strip, which we know is in complete disrepair after 2 years of heavy bombardment. As it stands, reconstruction is going to take place everywhere where Hamas isn't. So what we have in effect is a kind of de facto partition, and it's almost frozen the conflict. And we have 2.3 million Palestinians inside Hamas-controlled Gaza.
Is the war between Israel and Hamas over?
War is over.
Phase 1 began as soon as the ceasefire came into effect in October, effectively on the anniversary of the October 7th attacks. The main priority, particularly for Israeli society, I will say more than the Israeli government, was the issue of the hostages. All of those hostages, bar one, have been returned. Ran Gvili, he's deceased. He was a soldier at the time of the October 7th attacks. Israel is insistent, and particularly, again, the society is insistent that every last hostage will be brought home. And Donald Trump has also been mentioning this when he talks about phase 2. He's saying, we think we've located that hostage and he will be brought home. So that's an issue for Israeli society that won't give up on the last hostage. The other part of phase 1 was the ceasefire. Is there a ceasefire? Yes, in practice. There is not the level of violence that Palestinians were suffering under during the 2 years of war. That being said, there's still sporadic airstrikes where Israel is saying it's targeting terrorist infrastructure and personnel. Some of those people are not militants. They're not coming with the intention to attack Israeli soldiers. They are civilians. They've been children. So since October, 450 Palestinians have been killed, according to the UN. So there is a ceasefire, but it's a shaky one, it's a fragile one, and it's one that is still witnessing violence and despair among Gazan civilians as well. US President Donald Trump announced phase 2 via his social media platform, Truth Social, with a statement also by Steve Witkoff, his special envoy to the Middle East. It came as somewhat as a surprise. Suddenly we're in phase 2. Okay, what changed? The question of who is going to monitor the ceasefire instead of Israel. That's supposed to be the International Stabilization Force, the ISF. There are so many unanswered questions about who will be in the ISF, who's going to replace the military forces, who's going to train the Palestinian police. This is key to peace in the Gaza Strip. So far, there have been no obvious volunteers for the ISF, which is supposed to be some kind of a volunteer army. So that's on the ground. And then we have what Donald Trump is calling the Board of Peace, which is essentially 4 separate tiered administrations. That includes the Palestinian technocratic leadership that we mentioned earlier. And then there's an oversight committee. It's led by Nikolai Mladenov. He's a former Bulgarian foreign and defense minister. He'll also be on the ground overseeing that Palestinian committee. Then there's the Gaza Executive Board. That includes the former UK Prime Minister, Tony Blair. It includes President Donald Trump, as well as his inner circle, the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, Witkoff, 2 billionaires, and the former head of the World Bank. So that's kind of an 11-person elite executive board who will take decisions and oversee the work of Mladenov. Will that work? That's kind of the key question when we look at the progression of the Gaza Strip. That all hangs in the balance.